Hello and welcome to News at 10 on Rajya Sabha TV. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Well, after wrapping up his Belgian visit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will reach Washington, where he will attend the Nuclear Security Summit. That is the big story that we are tracking. Also, all the updates on the Pathankot terror probe. Now, the visiting Pakistani GIT will begin recording the statement of the witnesses in the case from today. All the details to follow. Let us begin with the headlines. Prime Minister Modi stresses on need to de-link terror and religion, which is for pacts to fight terror as he winds up his visit to Belgium. Modi to reach Washington today for the 4th Nuclear Security Summit. Uttarakhand High Court orders stay on the floor test in Assembly. 2-judge division bench posts matter for further hearing on 6th of April. Cabinet issues ordinance authorizing use for funds for state government. Joint investigation team from Pakistan to begin recording statements of witnesses in the Pathankot terror attack. NIA hands over list of 300 questions, seeks access to JEM chief Maulana Masood Azhar. Leaders of Libya's UN-backed unity government arrive in Tripoli in an attempt to take control. Hardliners in coalition that controls Tripoli call them interlopers, say they are not welcome. And England end New Zealand's winning streak at World T20, beats them by 7 wickets in the semi-finals. England will take on the winner from the India-West Indies encounter. The top focus issue of terrorism remained the focus of Prime Minister Modi's visit to Belgian capital Brussels. The day-long visit saw Prime Minister attending the long-pending India-EU summit and a one-on-one with Belgian Prime Minister. In a joint statement, the two Prime Ministers agreed that terrorism should not be associated with any religion, nationality, civilization or ethnic group. Now, Prime Minister Modi is due to reach Washington today. Prime Minister Narendra Modi leaving for Washington to attend the 4th Nuclear Security Summit. This after spending a packed day in Belgian capital Brussels. Prime Minister began the day by paying tribute to the victims of the Belgium terror attacks at the Melbeek metro station. Modi laid a wreath at the metro station where an Indian software engineer was among the 13 killed. The issue of terrorism also figured prominently in Modi's talks with his Belgian counterpart Charles Michel and with members of the European Parliament. The two nations agreed to restart and expedite talks on a mutual legal assistance treaty and an extradition treaty, among other steps, to fight terrorism.
To respond to this common challenge, we could resume discussions on a mutual legal assistance treaty.
Official meeting with the Prime Minister of India was a very important moment in our bilateral relationships. We have a very good and very strong relationships between Belgium and India.
While attending the India-EU summit, Modi stressed that India was with the EU in its fight against international terrorism. Talks between Modi and EU officials, including European Council President Donald Tusk and European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker, also touched on trade and investment, climate, energy, water and migration.
Prime Minister offered condolences on this barbaric act and said that India stands with the EU in the fight against international terrorism. He said that India wanted to scale up its cooperation with the European Union in the area of counter-terrorism.
Prime Minister Modi also witnessed the signing of loan agreement between the Lucknow Metro and the European Investment Bank at the summit. The European Union, through the bank, will loan India 450 million euros to construct a 23-kilometer metro line and purchase a fleet of about 80 metro cars in Lucknow. Apart from meeting EU officials, Modi held talks with Indian diamond traders on the sidelines of the summit. He also invited the Belgian government and businesses to proactively associate with India's ambitious development projects.
I invite the Belgian government and companies to proactively associate with India's ambitious development projects, including Digital India, Startup India and Skill India.
Thereafter, PM Modi addressed the Indian community in Brussels, where he stressed the need to de-link terrorism from religion.
मैंने दुनिया के कई वरिष्ठ नेताओं से बात की, अलग अलग सांप्रदायिक धाराओं से जुड़े हुए नेताओं से बात की और उनको मैंने समझाया कि आतंकवाद को रिलीजन से डीलिंग कर देना चाहिए.
On his three-nation trip, the Prime Minister will now attend the Nuclear Security Summit, staying in Washington, D.C. for 2 days. Thereafter, he will leave for Saudi Arabia. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. In related news, Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Belgian counterpart Charles Michel remotely launched Asia's biggest telescope, the Aryabhat Research Institute of Observational Sciences, or ARIES. It has been built with the Belgian assistance. The telescope, with a 3.6-meter wide primary mirror, is located at Devsthal near Nainital in Uttarakhand. ARIES, the largest optical telescope of its kind in Asia, is a product of the Indo-Belgian collaboration. It will be used to study star structures and magnetic field structures of stars.
इस टेलीस्कोप के द्वारा भारत और बेल्जियम के वैज्ञानिकों को अपने काम में सफलता और सहायता मिलेगी ही, साथ ही साथ यह पूरी मानवता के ज्ञानवर्धन में भी उपयोगी साबित होगा.
हम अपनी यात्रा को यहाँ पर नहीं रोक रहे हैं. हम तो दुनिया का जो सबसे बड़ा है 30 मीटर का टेलीस्कोप, उसको बनाने की प्रक्रिया को प्रारंभ कर चुके हैं. जो अमेरिका, कनाडा और जापान के साथ मिलकर हम 30 मीटर के लिए भी काम शुरू कर चुके हैं. 2023 तक वो तैयार हो जाएगा.
बहुत गर्व की बात है कि इतनी बड़ी दूरबीन जो एशिया की लार्जेस्ट दूरबीन है और ये आधुनिक दूरबीन है, इससे जो है हम अभी तक जो हमारे पास दूरबीनें थी 1 मीटर व्यास की और उनसे जो हम प्रोग्राम नहीं ले सकते थे रिसर्च करने के लिए, वो हम इस दूरबीन से कर पाएंगे और हम फ्रंट लाइन रिसर्च कर पाएंगे. ये हमारे लिए एक बहुत बड़े गौरव की बात है.
On to news from a political crisis in Uttarakhand. Well, the drama in Uttarakhand is set to continue for a few more days. The floor test that was to happen in the State Assembly on 31st of March, as directed by the State High Court, will now not take place. Now, this is as the division bench of the same court has stayed the interim order following the centre's petition, which challenged the floor test. For now, President's rule in the state will continue. Meanwhile, the Union Cabinet has cleared an ordinance to authorize the use of funds by the state government beyond 1st of April in Uttarakhand.
It's back to square one in Uttarakhand. There will be no floor test in the State Assembly on the 31st of March, as directed by a single bench of the Uttarakhand High Court. A division bench of the same court stayed the interim order till the 7th of April, the next date of hearing.
सिंगल जज का ऑर्डर है वो 7 तारीख तक होल्ड पे हो गया है. जहां तक भारत सरकार की बात है, भारत सरकार अपना काउंटर इस पिटीशन पर सोमवार तक देगा. दूसरी साइड पिटीशनर का जवाब मंगल तक आएगा. बुधवार को इसकी सुनवाई होगी.
The BJP termed it a vindication of its stand. The Congress said the stay order was given so as to resolve the matter completely.
सिंगल बेंच का जजमेंट था. न्यायालय डबल बेंच ने उसको ठीक समझते हुए इस मामले में सारी अनिश्चितताओं का समाधान करने का फैसला लिया. तो ये हमारे लिए एक प्रकार की डबल विक्ट्री है. जिस तरीके से जल्दबाजी में सिंगल बेंच का आदेश था, उसमें स्थितियां स्पष्ट नहीं हो रही थी कि राष्ट्रपति आदेश लगा हुआ है, कौन विश्वास का मत लेगा. ये थोड़े से कंफ्यूजन थे, इसलिए स्टे मिला है. पर हमें विश्वास है क्योंकि हम पहले दिन से भी बहुमत में हैं. हमने जिस दिन डिवीजन मांगा था उस दिन भी हमारे साथ 36 विधायक थे. हम राज्यपाल जी के पास गए, उस दिन भी हमारे पास 36 विधायक थे. आज भी हमारे पास 36 विधायक है.
Rebel MLAs too welcomed the new order.
निलंबित विधानसभा में नेता सदन होगा नहीं, और विश्वास प्रस्ताव या विश्वास प्रस्ताव पे सदन, विभिन्न दलों के जो सदन के नेता सदन और नेता विपक्ष, अब जब सदन ही निलंबित है तो कौन नेता सदन कौन नेता विपक्ष. तो इस परिस्थिति को माननीय न्यायालय ने समझा और मैं समझता हूँ अब जो हेयरिंग होगी, हेयरिंग में सारी बातें स्पष्ट हो जाएंगी।
The stay order came in response to the centre's petition challenging the interim order of the single bench. In its petition, the centre sought clarification on whether the floor test can be held when the assembly is in a state of suspended animation. The state assembly was suspended soon after President's rule was imposed on Sunday. The centre also told the court that if a trust vote is allowed, there will be two governments in Uttarakhand, as the state is already under President's rule. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Meanwhile, in related news, the Union Cabinet has recommended repromulgating an ordinance to amend the nearly 50-year-old Enemy Property Act. The Cabinet was chaired by Home Minister Rajnath Singh as Prime Minister Narendra Modi was away in Brussels. The first ordinance was promulgated in January and a bill to replace the executive order was introduced in Parliament in the budget session. While it was cleared by the Lok Sabha, the opposition in the Rajya Sabha forced the government to refer it to a select committee of the upper house. Now, the Cabinet also gave an ordinance authorizing expenditure beyond 1st of April in centrally ruled Uttarakhand in view of the political crisis there.
Today, the Cabinet has recommended an appropriation ordinance for Uttarakhand, whereby valid withdrawal of the government revenue can be done. For the consideration of Honorable the President, that we had passed an enemy property ordinance which was ratified by the Lok Sabha, and when it went to the Rajya Sabha, it has been referred to a select committee. But the duration of this ordinance is going to expire in the first week of April. Therefore, that ordinance has also been repromulgated till the receipt of the report of the select committee.
All right, and now let's bring you all the assembly election related news in our special segment, Verdict 2016. Well, Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi, who has begun his campaigning for the upcoming Assam Assembly polls, will hold 3 rallies in the state today. Rahul Gandhi will be addressing public rallies in Tinsukia and Dibrugarh later in the day. He is also slated to address another rally in Tezpur. In his previous rallies, Rahul Gandhi has asked voters to reject BJP in the assembly polls. He stated that if BJP came to power, Assam would be run from the RSS headquarters in Nagpur or the PMO. He also warned the people that the BJP will only stoke violence in the state and end the atmosphere of peace ushered in by the Congress. Assembly elections in Assam will be held in 2 phases on the 4th and 11th of April. More election-related stories this morning in Election Wrap. Congress in West Bengal has released its manifesto for the upcoming assembly polls. The manifesto states that the party's main objective is to ensure all-round progress so the state regains its stature and pride. The 13-page manifesto also says that the party's resolution is to oust the ruling TMC. The United People's Party, which is in alliance with the Congress in Assam, has released its manifesto for the upcoming assembly polls. The manifesto promises to bring all-round development in the Bodoland area. The party also said if brought to power, it will resolve all political issues and the problems of different Bodo groups to bring peace in the region. The selection of Congress candidates for the 16th of May assembly elections in Kerala remains undecided. This due to differences between Chief Minister Oommen Chandy and KPCC President VM Sridharan over the finalization of certain candidates. Chandy reportedly does not agree with the stringent norms set up by Sudhiran that disallows candidates who have served for more than 4 terms and also those who were tainted. Well, those were the news related to assembly polls, and with this we'll take a very short break. We'll be right back.
The sacred relics of Buddha were unearthed in Piprava in Uttar Pradesh. Buddhist monks from all over the world visit the National Museum to pay their respects. These charred bone fragments of Buddha are housed in the gold canopy gifted by the royal family of Thailand.
Welcome back. Now, the Bihar Assembly unanimously passed the Bihar Excise Amendment Bill 2016 to enforce the ban on country-made liquor from 1st of April. The 1915 liquor bill was amended to incorporate stricter penal provisions, including death sentence for manufacturers and distributors of illicit liquor in the event of a huge tragedy. In a rare show of solidarity, all MLAs, including Speaker Vijay Kumar Chaudhary, Chief Minister Nitish Kumar and Leader of Opposition Prem Kumar rose from their seats and resolved that they won't drink and would discourage others from doing so. Describing some of the stringent provisions that would work as a deterrent in implementing prohibition in the state, Nitish Kumar said that those manufacturing or trading illicit liquor in the state in the event of a huge tragedy will be awarded punishment up to capital punishment.
महिलाओं की मांग पर मैंने इस बात की घोषणा पिछले वर्ष 9 जुलाई को की और आज मुझे प्रसन्नता हो रही है कि 1 अप्रैल से बहुत ही मजबूती के साथ इसको लागू किया जा रहा है। शराबबंदी को लागू करने से बिहार में सामाजिक परिवर्तन आएगा, लोगों का जीवन स्तर बेहतर होगा।
बहुत उपलब्धि है सरकार के और सरकार धन्यवाद देने लायक है सरकार को और बिहार के जनता को भी अपना सहयोग करें।
News from up north. Well, the visiting Pakistani JIT will begin recording the statements of the witnesses in the Pathankot terror attack case today. The witnesses include a superintendent of police, rank officer of Punjab. Now, top officials of the NIA who held wide-ranging talks with the Joint Investigation Team have sought the voice samples of Maulana Masood Azhar, chief of the terror group JEM, said to have masterminded the assault, and his brother, besides details of a trust run by the outfit. The Pakistani JIT was handed over a list of 300 questions by the NIA during the day-long deliberations that took place in New Delhi. The NIA has sought access to Azhar and his brother and told the visiting team that till the time India's request was pending with the authorities in Islamabad, it would like the Pakistani JIT to question them about their role in the attack on the Pathankot Air Force Base and hand over their statement to the Indian agency.
They shared the investigation which they have conducted, which we can't share with you. हमने जो मांगा है हमने उनको अपनी लिस्ट दे दी है। उन्होंने जो मांगा है we are in the process of handing over documents and etc. to them. The witnesses will be examined tomorrow. Let's see.
Now, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry met National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, who is in Washington for the 4th Nuclear Security Summit that is taking place today and tomorrow. During the meeting, Kerry said the U.S. and India are global partners and share a wide-ranging convergence of interests and values. Kerry also noted that the US-India civil nuclear partnership should further bolster India's energy security and our strong economic relationship. They also discussed ways to increase diplomatic cooperation on a range of regional and global issues, to include counter-terrorism efforts.
India has a long record of being a leader, of being responsible, and it is particularly important right now at a time when we see in the region some choices being made that may accelerate possible arms construction, which we have serious questions about. We've raised them with various partners in the region. So our hope is that this Nuclear Security Summit will contribute to everybody's understanding about our global responsibilities and choices.
News from Africa now, where leaders of Libya's new UN-backed unity government arrived in the capital Tripoli to take control. Libya's UN envoy called for a peaceful and orderly handover. Hardliners who control Tripoli, however, are opposed to the UN brokered deal, which is aimed at reconciliating a nation which has been split by 5 years of conflict. Members of Libya's UN-backed Presidential Council reached Tripoli by ship, defying attempts to keep them from installing a unity government. 7 members of the council, including Faiz Siraj, the new government's prime minister, arrived amid tight security.
هذه اللحظة التاريخية المباركة بإذن الله نعلن لأبناء شعبنا الكريم مباشرة حكومة الوفاق الوطني لمهامها من العاصمة طرابلس.
Hours after the council's arrival, the situation in Tripoli remained volatile, with clashes erupting between supporters and opponents of the council.
مهمتنا لم شمل الليبيين رغم الصدع شبابنا هم رهاننا على بناء ليبيا وعلى الدفاع عليها.
Libya has been caught in conflict between rival factions since 2011, with one controlling the capital Tripoli in the west and the unity government, which was displaced to the east of the country. The UN aims to bring the sides together, but the envisaged joint cabinet has been unable to set up in Tripoli and start work because of resistance on the ground.
À partir de là, nous pourrons construire avec la Libye une relation, et construire avec elle une solution qui permette à ce pays de se réconcilier, mais aussi de se reconstruire et de maîtriser ce danger qui le guette et qui guette les puissances de la région. Et elles sont nombreuses, les pays de la région, c'est-à-dire la progression de Daesh. Voilà l'état d'esprit qui est le nôtre, mais il y a urgence à ce que ce gouvernement soit installé.
Western nations are keen for unity authorities to be established quickly so they can offer Libya more aid in battling Islamic State there and help stabilize Libya to curb a flow of illegal migrants across the Mediterranean Sea to Europe. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
More international stories now in World Wrap. US presidential candidate Donald Trump briefly called for some form of punishment for women who have abortions if it became illegal. His initial comments made during a town hall event with a cable network sparked a wave of criticism. However, Donald Trump quickly reversed his position, saying the only person who performed the abortion should be punished. However, he maintained his position has not changed. The EU Commissioner for Migration, Home Affairs and Citizenship stated in Geneva that asylum status in Europe will be granted to those refugees from Syria who are in dire need of international sacrifice. Now, Dimitris Avramopoulos made the remarks during a brief press conference held after a meeting on global responsibility sharing through pathways for admission of Syrian refugees, which was hosted by UNHCR. Chinese President Xi Jinping arrived in the US for this week's Nuclear Security Summit in Washington. Just as fears of nuclear terrorism are on the rise, President Barack Obama's US-led drive to lock down all vulnerable atomic materials worldwide risks losing momentum. Obama will convene the global summit, bringing together more than 50 countries in the aftermath of the deadly Brussels attack that have fueled concerns that Islamic State could eventually target nuclear power plants and also develop radioactive bombs. And on to cricket news. Well, India and West Indies will today play out in the mouth-watering second semi-finals in Mumbai later today. Both the teams will lock horns to seal a ticket to the finale at the ICC World T20 tournament. Now, India's ability to win the big games under pressure has been a hallmark in recent times, but West Indies will be no pushover. The Caribbeans are a dominant force in this format, and Indian conditions are not new to their key players. Chris Gayle is determined to grab the World T20 limelight back from in-form Virat Kohli, who has been the star of the tournament so far, guiding India through tough times in the group stages. However, Yuvraj Singh's injury has in fact put India into dilemma as they gear up for the semi-finals. Yuvraj, who has not got big runs but has been involved in crucial stands with Virat Kohli during the group match stages, has been ruled out due to ankle injury that he sustained in a match against Australia. Meanwhile, West Indies preparations were also dealt a blow with the announcement that Andre Fletcher has been ruled out for the rest of the tournament with a hamstring injury.
Yuvraj has been declared unfit.
Yeah.
How much of an impact it will have on the team?
It will have an impact because, he's had his moments. I thought his 3 overs were brilliant in the last game. That really put the check and the brakes on the scoring and allowed us to come back into the contest, because after the first 4 overs, it was a no contest. At one stage, it looked 200 plus, which would have been very difficult on that surface to chase. So he will be missed. Unfortunate.
I don't think we'll have one Indian supporter, so it's going to be a massive game, and it's a challenge that we are ready for.
Meanwhile, England crushed New Zealand by 7 wickets in the first semi-finals of the ICC World T20 tournament played in Kotla in Delhi on Wednesday. Now, English batsman Jason Ray made his career best, hitting 78 runs to chase the target of 154 set by the Kiwis in 17.1 overs.
Or maybe he's not sitting in. Big shot shows what a good pitch it is. Leg out the way. Smash.
England stormed into the finals of the ICC World T20 tournament after crushing tournament's favourite New Zealand by 7 wickets in the first semi-finals on Wednesday. English batsman Jason Roy's magnificent batting of 78 runs helped England reach the target of 154 runs set by the Black Caps with 17 balls to spare.
Gets it fine, so back-to-back boundaries just by manipulating.
Electing to field, England staged a strong comeback in the second half of the innings. Roy and Alex Hale's partnership provided a flying start to their reply, and Jos Buttler smacked a six to seal the semi-final victory.
All the way, what a way to go through to a final.
Roy smashed 4 boundaries in the very first over against Corey Anderson to set the tone. Roy took 26 balls to bring up his maiden half-century in 2020 internationals as he put on 82 for the first wicket with Hales.
He's been absolutely lethal against everything that's come up against him here this evening.
Kiwi bowlers who had shown in the team's unbeaten run to the semis were at the receiving end of some brutal hitting that kept the packed house at Firozshah Kotla entertained.
His mind is going to look to go offside.
Today was as good as it probably gets to winning a 2020 game. However, there's obviously a few bits we need to work on. We had to claw it back because I got off to a good start, and yeah, credit to the boys for dragging it back.
But here we go.
New Zealand entered the match having won all 4 of their group matches and 12 of their last 13 in global tournaments. The Black Caps had defended scores of 126, 142 and 145 earlier in the tournament, but England had broken the back of the chase in amassing 49 by the time Williamson turned to his leading wicket-taker Michel Santner after 4 overs. Although Kane Williamson and Colin Munro's 74-run partnership laid a solid foundation, but the Kiwis faltered later on.
Yeah, I think they played very, very well, and we weren't quite at our best. Saying that, we still pushed them. We were able to put a little bit of pressure on them with our bowling effort, but look, we were a few short. So credit to England, they played outstandingly. To restrict us to 150 odd on that surface was a very good effort by their bowlers.
The 2010 champion England will now meet the winner of today's match between India and West Indies on Sunday in Mumbai. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
That's all in this news bulletin. Thanks for watching.